Okay, the lighting is horrible. Okay. I'm here by myself. This is like my third time trying to do this. Everything's cool. So originally I was going to try to do a giveaway and that didn't work. So I'm kind of glad nobody's here right now. And what I'm going to do, I am going to just talk about some things that are going on right now until I'm done. If you happen to come in the middle of things and you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I can see what's going on. I promise I will work on the lighting because I know this is total cringe. Sorry. Janice is going to close the door. So what you see behind me is my workspace. It is now dark. I'm making do with what I got. So like I said, the lighting's horrible. And I had a lot of trouble I wanted to do a giveaway. Sorry about that. I couldn't get things to work out right. I was having all kinds of technical problems. So I just went bare minimal basic live. So here we are. Trying to up my game here on YouTube because I have been slacking. Anyway, let's just talk here we are at the end of September. We got October coming around and Halloween. Then after that, we have Thanksgiving. And then after that, we have Christmas. And I know some people do not want to talk about Christmas right now. But in the seller world and in the business world, Christmas is the time of the year where we make all or most of our money. So there are some important things to talk about right now. And I'm sorry if that's not something that you're interested in, but for some of us, it's really important. Okay. So, good news, USPS, United States Postal Service, has stated that they will not raise prices this Christmas season, which is important. That is this is the first time, I think in like 3 years, that they haven't done that. So that is really, really good news. And I don't know about everybody else, but they did maybe, what has it been, a month maybe, when they put the direct advantage into place and they got rid of the parcel select and first class, and they kind of merged the two. And I'm really, really I like it. I think it makes things a lot simpler. So yeah, I'm liking that. And I've also been playing around a little bit with the UPS ground. I'm fortunate. I have a UPS store right down the street, and they will also take the USPS packages and when the truck comes to pick them up, then they get scanned in there. So that's good. And I learned something today. So today I went to the post office. I have actually 2 post offices that I can use. One that's in the town that I live in, and one that's closer but in another town. And the one that's in my town, the people over there aren't really very nice, but the one in the town next to me that's closer, those people are nicer. And that's not as busy a post office either. So today when I went in, I had a couple handfuls, so I had to make a couple trips. And the people in there, they weren't busy, so they asked me if they wanted me to scan it. So I had a second to talk to her, the lady at the desk, or the clerk, and she told me that if you go to the scanner kiosk and you scan it there, that it will show as accepted. Because what happens in my case, so I live outside of Atlanta, in an Atlanta suburb. She said they don't really even get scanned until they get to Atlanta, which, okay, now it's kind of making some sense to me, because that's where the main hub is, where they do most of the processing. So if I scan it in the kiosk, even though it has that disclaimer there saying it has to do whatever they say to, so they're not responsible if something happens. If I scan it in there, once it gets to wherever they do their actual scanning, it will link that up so that it'll show that it's in possession. So that's good to know, and I'm glad that she told me that, and that gives me a little bit of relief. So something good to know. The other thing I wanted to talk about is some things that are going on eBay. So eBay has their fourth quarter, I forgot what they call it. Let's see what they call it. You can find this information. It's on the eBay Seller Hub. And it's kind of their news of what they're doing. So let me see. I forgot what they called it. It's like their fourth quarter, what do they call it? Seller fall, or the fall seller update. and that's what they call it. So there's some things in there that I think are really good news for us as sellers. And one of the things is regarding unpaid items on eBay. So this has been a sore spot with sellers for quite a while, including myself. I know how it feels where somebody will buy something and then they never pay for it. So, the 4 days goes by and you have to cancel it. Well, now there's been 4 days where that item is sitting in limbo. You're not getting paid for it, but you can't resell it to anybody else who might be interested. It's just sitting there, and that's not fair to us. It's not fair to anybody else who might be interested in it. And then after 4 days, if that person who supposedly was going to buy it doesn't pay for it, then we have to go through the process of canceling the sale and relisting it. So one of the things that eBay has done is they have increased the price threshold for buy it now. So if somebody wants to, I don't know exactly what the threshold is. They didn't say that, but if somebody wants to buy it now on your eBay store and whatever that threshold is, if it's over that threshold, then they can't just go ahead and buy it and pay for it later. They have to put their sales information in, their payment information in now. And they also have to add it if they want to make an offer. So if you've got something listed and I come along and I look at it and I'm like, oh, I like that, I want to buy that, I have to go ahead and put my payment information in order for me to make an offer on your product. But some things that they're still working on. So this is not 100% yet. Some of the things they are working on is when a seller makes an offer. So, when you have people who are watching and you can go in and make an offer to them, and then they may go ahead and accept that offer, or they may counter it too. And then there's also with auctions. So these three things are not really set up yet for that automatic payment yet, but they are working on it, which is good. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, I guess it has to go way, way back when people were sending in checks and you would receive checks. But they're behind as far as my opinion, and I know a lot of other people feel this way. They are behind the times on getting payment due. And I know that they think that. I mean, they're saying, we hear you, we hear you, we hear you, but I'm pretty sure that in the background they're thinking the same thing, because not only are we losing money, but they're losing money too. You know what I'm saying? So they are behind. They're way behind. And they are also talking about making stricter policies for non-payment, including suspension. So yeah, it's about time. Shouldn't be abusing the platform, and definitely shouldn't be taking advantage of the sellers. So yeah. Okay. Another thing, they said the social page is available to all eBay sellers, and that is for sharing your store and your. So I see somebody's in the chat. Can you say hi? Oh, you left. Sorry. Okay. Well, anyway, so these are things like Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. You can start sharing your store and your listings into these different social media sites, which will get more traction and more traffic into your stores and looking at your items there. Okay. All right. Okay. And the other thing that they have done that updated, and I have noticed this on my account, and I really, really like it, is so you can send out multiple offers on multiple items to all at the same time. It's like a bulk feature. So if you've got like 4, 5, 6, 10 different items that have watchers on them, you can click, the little square at the top, and it'll take you to a page, and it'll have a big percent sign, and you put your percent sign in there, what you want to offer on all these pieces, put your little message in and send it off. And they all just go at one time instead of having to go down the list and do one at a time. Wonderful time saver. Love that. And then they're also, and I'm not using this because it's not available on the List Perfectly, which I use, which I really recommend. Oh my gosh, List Perfectly is a game changer. But anyway, it's not on List Perfectly yet. I think they're talking about it. But on the eBay app, they do have an AI enabled feature now for the description. Different people have different about that. I have heard different things like people don't want to read all this. They want the bullets. And then on the other hand, they're saying that descriptions that have more than 100 words get more attention. I don't know what's the truth to tell you, to be honest with you. But what I can say is AI is not 100% perfect. You need to go back and check and make sure there's nothing, no mistakes in there. It's supposed to be generated off of the information that you've already put in there. But I have seen AI misinterpret some things when I did play around with it. I've also noticed that even using List Perfectly, so you try to get the SEO in your title maxed out to the max, right? Okay, so let's just say I'm selling something by pink, like a pink, not a pink color sweatshirt, but the Victoria's Secret pink sweatshirt, and it says pink on it, or it's branded pink, and I put that in the title because it's it's an SEO, it's something that people are looking for. And when I go into eBay, it'll have the color listed as pink, but it's really white, and so you have to watch that kind of thing too. Sometimes it misinterprets feeds, or many times if I'm doing like a lady's top, because top is only 3 letters where shirt is 5, right? So I might put in there ladies top. They'll brand it as top when it might be, something else, and not a brand T.O.P. I don't know, where that comes from. So you do need to definitely go back and double check it. And not to be mean, but my feeling is we need to be really diligent with this, because there are people out there who are being really diligent and looking for ways to get free products off of us, item not as described. So just saying, be careful. They're supposed to have made improvements on the background tool removal, and I haven't used that in a long time. I really wasn't that happy with it when I was using it, and as I've grown and done some more cross posting, I was using photo room, which I think does a much better job. But I got to be honest with you, I'm not really fooling around too much with removing the backgrounds. Well, first of all, there's been a change. So Google is not giving preference to white backgrounds anymore. That's a thing of the past. So now it's a matter of preference. And I think maybe we'll talk more about this in another video, but I think there is some truth that you don't want a cluttered background. Like if I was trying to sell something right now, this background right here is horrible. Okay. This is not a good background. Probably not even for this. Okay. To be honest with you, but here we are. So you still want to keep it simple. I have my photo box, my light box for smaller things like, stuff like this. This was going to be a giveaway, by the way, but I can't do it because I had all kinds of technical difficulties. So I'm going to sell it. But so small things I can put in my photo box or my light box, and actually even up to a pretty good size, say like a pretty big handbag or shoes, things like that. So a lot of what I photograph, I put in the light box. Things that don't do so well, I try to hang tops and pants and dresses and things like that. But some things, like because I sell a lot of big guy clothes, so if I have like a 4X men's top, it just looks like a ghost hanging there on the hanger. It just looks terrible. So I do flat lays with them, and I have a whole variety of things that I lay down. I know people get kind of put off by putting them on the floor. The floor that I have here it looks like wood. It's not. It's actually linoleum, and I can clean it very well. But I guess it depends on my mood that day. Sometimes I'll put it on the floor, but I've gotten 2 carpets actually. I got a white fuzzy carpet real cheap off of Amazon, and a black fuzzy carpet real cheap off of Amazon, and I use that for the big stuff, or sometimes even the small stuff. The other day I was doing doilies, which are white, And I just didn't feel like messing with the inside of my light box. So I just put my black carpet on the floor and put the doilies on the carpet. I mean, it's still the illusion of being on the floor, but these are real lightweight carpets and like light enough that I can what's going on. Those are my thoughts for today. Um, you know, I don't really know what else to tell you. I can give you a little bit of an update on my cleaning. So why, what's going on with the channel and why I'm not doing so many cleaning videos. And they're still there. They're all, my newer videos were cleaning videos, and they're doing very well and getting a lot of traction, where my newer videos really aren't. Okay. And that's because I'm kind of weaning out of that business. I haven't closed it yet, but it's coming to an end. Like, I have a customer that I lost maybe a month or so ago. Really good customer. Love this guy and his family. We have a very nice family. And I started cleaning his house as he came to me as a gift from his coworkers when his wife died. She died during COVID, and he has kids at home. So that's how I got this customer. And his mother decided that he needed me to continue services for them. Well, now he's engaged and he doesn't need me anymore, so I'm happy for him, but sad for me. So I've lost some money there. And then I have another commercial business that I'm not really sure what's going on with them, because they appear to be busier, but they're cutting costs, I guess. I don't know. So I don't clean that office as often as I used to. So I don't know, that's kind of sporadic, but I've lost a couple $100 here and there, for the month. So that's okay, because I'm really trying to move more into this reselling business, because that's what I want to do when I retire, which really isn't that far away. Okay. It's not tomorrow, but it's not that far away. So I'm planning ahead. You see what I'm saying? And trying to build one business as I taper off the other. So that's what's going on. And that's what you're seeing on my YouTube channel. And I'm so sorry if you really have a thing for the cleaning videos, but I got to live my life. And then I guess to touch on what's going on with Ray, because I haven't posted anything about him, which is good. I mean, nothing really has changed. He's at this point, he's got 2 prostheses. He's lost both of his legs. For those who don't know, he's a diabetic and went through a lot of amputations. Okay. And he's now got 2 below the knee amputations on both legs. So but he's doing well. He's getting around. He's cooking for himself. He does his own hygiene things. I don't have to help him in the shower or anything like that. So that's good for both of us, because I don't know how he would feel if he got to the point where he couldn't do personal things for himself. And he takes care of the cats. And I think he went through a period where he really thought he was going to go back to work. And he's a construction guy. He does blue collar work, and he's not going to be able to climb a ladder. You know what I'm saying? And getting up and down, because he was a carpet guy, a flooring guy. Getting up and down, he's got to take his legs off, because on the foot part of his prosthesis doesn't flex. It might roll when he walks, but the ankle doesn't flex like yours and mine does. Okay. So when he's like kicking carpet in, that toe is dragging and he can't do it. Oh, Mr. Murrow himself, I see you changed your name. Yes, he's doing good. And I think that he has come to realize that, his life is different now. He's not going to be able to do the things that he was doing, but he has gotten his disability, and he's been able to he does have the capacity to make certain amount of money, but you have to have the drive, and he just hasn't thought of anything that he wants to do, I guess. So he has his little daily routine, and sometimes so this is where okay, so let's talk for a minute. This is where things get This is why I want to retire early, because I am not young, and cleaning houses is hard physical work. Okay. And sometimes when I come home from work, I'm exhausted. I don't want to walk. I can barely walk. I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean. I don't want to do all that kind of stuff. I've done it all day long for somebody else. I just want to sit down and rest and give my body a chance to recover. And see, you don't know what things are like until you go through it, right? Like, I don't know firsthand what it's like to walk with prosthetic legs, but I know secondhand because I can see the effect that it has on his body. Like, so I want to find a way to describe this. Your body changes every single day. Some days you might have a little more fluid and the next day you might not. And so there's ways to compensate for that with socks. If you really want a lot of information about it, there's a channel, Footless Joe. She has lots and lots of information on what it's like to be an amputee, but I'm just going to go over it. I don't really feel like an expert from that perspective, but as somebody who lives with somebody, I am. Okay. And so I see when he gets blisters and things like that. And that's terrifying to me, to be honest with you. It's terrifying because that's how these infections happen. Okay. And it's not just an infection like in your skin that you can put some Neosporin on and it'll go away. These infections go into the bone. That's how he's lost these parts of his body. And it's not just in his bone, like it goes through his bloodstream. He's very, very sick when he gets these infections, and it can go like just like that, like overnight. There was one he had on the back of his neck, and the first day it looked like a pimple. It looked like an ingrown hair. That it just looked like something normal. The next day, I came home, and he has this armchair that he likes, and he was in there, sitting there, and just like not moving, and his face looked gray. And for a second, I thought he had died. I really did for a second. And I said, "Are you dead?" And like he paused a minute, and then said to me, "I don't think so." That's what he said, but he was really suffering. And what had happened, I couldn't tell yet, but, he finally said, was telling me why he was in such pain. And this thing that started out like just a tiny little pimple in the back of his neck, I'm not joking you, was this big and covered with little yellow dots. Like it was nothing you've seen on Dr. Pimple Popper. I guarantee you. This thing was like the size of an egg on the back of his neck. And his skin was gray. He didn't look good to me. And, it took me a little while to get him. Like I wanted to call the ambulance, and he didn't want to go in the ambulance, but, I finally got him up enough to get him to the hospital. And, trying to think, we stopped going to the local hospital. I started taking him down to Grady in Atlanta, which is a bit of a drive for us. Okay. But better hospital, and they're used to people without insurance. There's a lot of homeless people that go there, and he didn't have insurance, at the time. So I took him down there, and he did get better care down there. He really did, and he got into some programs and things like that. But anyway, the point of me saying that is when he gets these infections, it's not just on his skin. It's not just a localized infection. It starts going through his whole body. And this is all part of being a diabetic. When your sugar is out of control, it kind of feeds those infections. It's horrible. Yeah, the size of an egg. And he did get surgery for that. And so this is what happens. Okay. Not on his leg amputations. Okay. Those huge amputations where they took his foot off, they did stitch it up, and there's different techniques for that. But when this all started, when he had his first toe amputated, and some other amputations, they actually leave those wounds open. So, okay, his first toe, let me see if I can show you this. So let's just say it was this toe, right? What they did was they cut a triangle out like this, and they took his toe off, and they just left it open. Like you could see the bone. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. And the same thing on the back of his neck. He has a scar about this long. And what they did was they just cut it open. They did a debridement, they call it. It's like where they scrape out the infection. And they left it open. And they do that. And they packed it, But they do that so that whatever they can't get out, the bacteria that they can't get out, will be pushed out. And then like with this incision that was like a V, they want it to heal from the inside out. So we were kind of making some jokes because of the body part. It looked like a girl body part on his foot. So we were, yeah, yeah, it's eBay. So I got to watch what I say because it's a little off color. But yeah, we were joking about that. He's like, yeah, I'm, kitty cat footing around if you want to figure that one out. But yeah, he had surgery for that. And they also had him on like heavy duty antibiotics because of the infection. It was always through his bloodstream. It's all through his bloodstream. But one of the times we had to go down every 2 weeks and get they put a J port in him, like you do for people who are on chemo and that kind of thing. They put a J port on him, and we had to go down to Grady every 2 weeks and get a box full of medication that he had to intravenously put into this J port himself. I don't know why one time versus another, it was always something different, but I know one time they were really worried that the infection got into his heart. But they were, that was, COVID was going on when that happened. The last time, yeah, that was the last amputation, and he was in the hospital. He went in March, like 2 weeks before the shutdown, or right before the shutdown. I don't know. It was no, and that wasn't his last one. His last one was right before Christmas. I know he was in. God, I can't even remember it anymore. It's been so many times, like which one was which. But he did go in right before they started talking about COVID and how bad it was. Maybe that was at Christmas time. I just know that the hospital was like, it was like insane because there were people in the hallways. It was like there had been some kind of natural disaster, and I heard the doctor ask if if somebody had been tested for COVID, and you could see all these people with the bags for throwing up, and they didn't have a bed for him. They put him in it was like for radiology, post after radiology, a place that you go, I guess, like if you have either have to be sedated for some sort of procedure, because some people have to be sedated for like MRIs if they're claustrophobic, or maybe if you have like dyes put in you, they maybe hold you for a little while to make sure you're not having a reaction, that kind of thing. But anyway, that's where he was for 3 days, 3 days in his street clothes with some other people. So it wasn't a room. He was kind of on a gurney, not even in a real bed, and he had to go down the hallway and go to the bathroom. I mean, it was awful with this problem with his feet, I mean, it was so crazy. And then he finally got a bed, and it was kind of hard for me to get down there for some reason. I didn't really visit him much. I talked to him every day, at least a couple times a day, on the phone, but just didn't really get to visit him, and it was a good thing because, like, hand to God, I never got sick. I never got COVID. I never even had the flu. I mean, I never had the sniffles, nothing through all of that. I really just was very lucky. I even traveled. I did get vaccinated, both shots before I traveled because I didn't want to, I didn't know what was going to happen at the airport. People were saying that you might have to show proof of vaccination, and then so I did get vaccinated for that, but I didn't get sick. Nothing. I mean, I had no cold, no nothing. So, um, yeah. So you were saying you remember seeing patients in the hallway and outside and tents in the parking lots. It hadn't gotten to that point yet where people were actually out in the parking lot, or where they weren't letting people in yet. That it was before that had happened. I remember that. And it was actually before the lockdown, where they were sending people home from work and you couldn't go into stores. It was before all of that. But it was right before that, like with weeks. And it was really a weird time. It was just so weird. I think he was in the hospital. I know he was in the hospital at Christmas time because he came home Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, he was still pretty doped up from the surgery, and he slept all day. I worked on my eBay store. I was very quiet. I didn't cook anything special. It was just a really quiet, talk to my kids, that kind of thing. But that Christmas, it was really weird. And my ex was in the hospital with COVID that same Christmas. He thought he was going to die. And I talked to him, and he apologized to me for being such a jerk, yeah, because he thought he was going to die. That was just a horrible, scary, scary, scary time. And anyway, I think it was like March, wasn't it, when they shut everything down? And that's when, people were, yeah, because it was kind of springish. I think it was March. And you had to wear your mask out. And I can remember, like, before the masks even became mandated, like, people started posting things on social media about wearing the masks to go in the stores. And I'm thinking, like, that's so weird. Like, the thought of it, up until COVID happened, you would be a suspect if you walked into a store with your face covered. Your whole family tested positive for COVID except for you. Everyone stayed in their rooms for weeks. Yeah, I mean, it was just I lost a lot of clientele during that time, but I was so busy. I was so busy. Like, I have a couple days throughout the month where I do one cleaning in the morning and one in the afternoon, and I have a few houses that take me all day. Okay. But not so much like I used to. It used to be every single day. And sometimes I would go like 3 weeks before I would even get a day off. That's how busy I was. And I'm not that busy now. Uh, so I just, I don't know what this loop is. Um, I just, I'm not that busy, but there was some people I haven't heard from since they, did their initial cancellation. I don't know if they've just decided that it was nice to have that extra money, or maybe they're not even doing the same kind of work, because it's changed the workplace. I think it's changed a lot of things. I think, when they talk about the Great Recession, I can tell you my experience. When I got laid off when I was working at United Healthcare, and initially it was very stressful and very emotional for me. My heart was broken, really. So no, they didn't. There was nothing. We didn't have like a curfew here that I recall. No, I don't think so, because one of the things that happened, because there was like no traffic, right? So there's this road. It's Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, I think. Parkway Boulevard, It's Peachtree Industrial, and it's a big, long, straight road from Atlanta all the way up into another county. Okay. And it goes through several cities, and it's pretty straight. There might be some hills, but it's not a lot of curves on it. And they were having problems because people were like drag racing on this road, which is not normal. Okay. Drag racing in Atlanta is not a normal thing. Okay. There's just too many cars. You don't see that around here. It's not common. But they were doing that. And I mean, flying like up and down this road. Yeah. And they were trying to crack down on people for that, because obviously it's dangerous. But they didn't really put any kind of restrictions on us time wise. Maybe they did in the beginning. I don't know. I can't remember. It didn't really affect me, to be honest with you. I didn't really feel a lot of pain from COVID. I got to tell you the truth, because even though I was telling you I lost some customers, I had some customers realize that they couldn't keep up with the cleaning. So they were calling me back frantic, which is fine. But then I also was getting newer customers because of the same reason. Like, they felt like they couldn't clean enough. So they told me to come back, or they needed, I got some new customers that way. But I don't really go out a lot anymore. I mean, if I do, it's to the gas station to get something, or the Kroger, which is right down the street. I don't really, sad to say, I don't have much of a life anymore, not compared to what it used to be anyway. So, no. There may have been some towns around that had curfews, but we didn't here, not where I live. But I remember what was I doing? I was doing a cleaning. It was a post-construction cleaning kind of thing. It was a guy that flips houses. And this house was kind of far away in an area that I wasn't so familiar with. Um, and it was the night that the lockdown started. I guess it started at 10 or something like that. They called the lockdown. I think it was only really like a month that things were really, really bad. And then they figured out this isn't good for business, and so they found ways to open it up. But that first night I'm driving home and I get to an area where I'm more familiar with and I know the traffic patterns, and there was like nobody on the road. And I'm like, what is going on here? Where is everybody? I just completely forgot. I went and lived my life pretty much the way that I normally would have. And I did, honestly, I had this eBay store then, even before all that happened. But when things started to taper off, for my cleaning clientele, I just buckled down on selling, stuff on eBay, and then started branching out. I started selling other types of things besides clothing, and now I actually like selling hard goods, like collectible stuff. I like selling that more so than the clothes. I mean, all this back here, whoops, all these bins, and they go all the way over to the wall over here, and you can see I've got stuff hanging here. All these clothes, some go and some stick around for a long time. Let's see. You believe the whole state of California had markets were limited to the capacity of people that went to the shop for groceries? Yes, we did have that for a while, where they would only allow so many people into the stores. And there's still marks on the floors, like to show where 6 feet is. And even the gym that I clean, I went in there and helped them like get ready to reopen. And they had, in a certain area, like where they have their free weights and everything, they put masking tape off to give like space, social distant space for people while they're working out. And that's, even that tape is still there. Like, it's almost like artifacts, how we see things. Like, you can see the little marks on the floors in the stores talking about social distancing, and yet they're kind of worn now, because people have been walking over them for 2 years. And they probably should come up, and you can see like some stores how they would make you go this way down this aisle and then this way down the next aisle, like that. And you can still see some of the arrows for the aisles. But this particular state, Georgia, really didn't stay rigid for a long time. And I think that we were one of the states that actually had a high reoccurrence of COVID, from what I understand, on one hand. But I can tell you, if you went in a store and you didn't have your mask on, people were like, "You're ignorant." You were getting it from all sides. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a crazy time. Most stores were allowing only elderly people to shop first because they were more at risk. We did have that here. Kroger open, like I think from 7 to 9 or something like that, for people over a certain age. You could go in there and shop, and it was kind of the same thing here. They didn't say anything, but there's certain people that are high risk too, like cancer patients, or I don't know. I mean, that list could go on and on and on, because even I, Ray's high risk because he's a diabetic, and I could be a carrier, and I could bring it home to him, so I don't know. I'm just glad it's over with. They said it would take about 2 years, and that's about right. It did take about 2 years to work its way out. So yeah, I'm glad it's over with. And I'm glad that, I mean, I know a couple people that passed away from it. I didn't know that my one client's wife, but a guy that I used to use for landscaping. I would refer landscaping jobs to him if somebody was looking for one. He passed away, and probably somebody else. I just can't think of them right now off the top of my head. But I was pretty lucky. I mean, there were people who had it, around me, but didn't die from it, thank God. And I was lucky. I never got it. And I clean people's toilets. I got lucky. But you know what? I'm neurotic about washing my hands. And one of the guys that I don't do his house anymore, but if you've ever heard me talk about 10 dog guy, he had 10 dogs. The house, ugh, they weren't messy people, but the dogs made a mess. And I mean, it was just nasty. And so I was like, everything that I touched, I felt like was gross, So, that kind of puts it in you too. Like, you can kind of smell something like that. But really, honestly, bacteria and germs and things that will make you sick, viruses, you don't really smell them until they're bad, like if a COVID germ wants to jump on you, you're not going to know it until it's done its growth thing. And even like going back to Ray, you know, he had staph infections, is what he had. And, a staph germ doesn't smell all by itself, not till it goes in there and it starts growing. That's when you start getting odors from infections that way. But for the most part, you don't smell germs. You don't smell them, and you don't smell clean. It's kind of hard to tell. So, like all these fancy little smells that I put out when I'm cleaning people's houses, it's really a lie in a way. It's because if I don't do it right, it just smells clean. It's not really clean. You know what I'm saying? Like clean doesn't have a smell. Dirty doesn't have a smell. It's when these things start to grow. So how interesting is that? Anyway, this was interesting. Um, I'm kind of thinking I should probably close up. Well, let's see. Some people say COVID cases are rising, but I don't see anything on the news about it. COVID's always been around. There was just a bad strain that came out during our COVID crisis when we had this pandemic. But COVID has always been around. Like, they were saying Lysol kills COVID. It does. It kills COVID. COVID is actually the common cold, and you can die from the common cold. And we saw that, like the boss common cold come through during that. But COVID's been around for a long time, and COVID's not going to go away. It's a virus, and there's just different strains, just like there's different strains of the flu. I don't know how all that works. Like, I think it's weird. Like, you can have a bird flu and a swine flu and I don't know, those kind of things. And it's kind of the same principle. It's just it's a strain. That's all I know how to tell you. It's like, and then it goes. What they call the Spanish flu really didn't come from Spain. That's when they started noticing it. But it's the same thing. And so on the plus side, we really won't have not a pandemic, not like that, probably for another 100 years, Yeah, Michael, I'm trying to be a good girl here. I'm really trying to be a good girl. So I want to do another one next Thursday at 8:00. And I didn't tell you about this one. I'm so sorry. I thought about it. You were on my mind today. And I just like nothing worked out right. Even I wanted to do a giveaway, and I was using StreamYard, and I just couldn't get the two to connect. And as you can see, the lighting's not good. There's just a lot of things. So I've got stuff that I'm going to work on. But yes, I'm going to do another one next Thursday at 8:00 my time. And then the week after that, my daughter's going to be visiting me she'll be here on the 12th of October. So I won't be doing that one that day because I'll be visiting with her. But I really want to just like make it pretty regular on Thursdays at 8:00 and try to build up the channel, and also build up it's no worries. You got a notification say, oh, yeah. Yeah, I am so glad you came around. I am so glad. It's been a little while. I know you're super busy and I'm busy. Are you back in school again? Hmm? Anyway, I know you have a lot going on. You missed my past streams. Yeah, because a lot of times I didn't even plan it. You are back in school, okay? And I know you have a lot going on your side too. So, um, yeah, I was doing these live streams, like I was doing Drive with Me and my little thoughts on business and that kind of thing. But they were never planned. And then I started thinking, you really need to stop that, Jenny, because if you have an accident, it wouldn't be good, and it might be a violation of the terms of service and da 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 da. So I still do the Drive with Me, but I record them and lift it. I record them and then I upload them, but I don't know how people feel about those. So I think this is better that I just make it like a regular time. People can come and hang out, and we can talk about probably mostly reselling things because that's what my focus is on. But really, honestly, you can ask me anything. Like we talked about Ray and COVID. So you're taking online classes and studying for your driver's written test. That's right. Okay, that's good. So what's it like? Okay, you're in LA, I think you said. Well, LA's got horrible traffic too. It's like Atlanta. Traffic is horrible here too. Trust and believe, and it's right back the way it used to be pre-pandemic. It's bad. And now people are upset because the road I live on is like used to be a country road, okay? Used to be a country road. Now it's a two-lane road and it's pretty busy. And what they've done is off of my road, they have neighborhoods, right? So, but my road goes from, say, like Stone Mountain up to Lawrenceville, and it goes through my town, okay? You're in LA, traffic is horrible most of the time. Yeah, I've heard that. The LA traffic is horrible. I'm in the suburbs of Atlanta. I'm not even in downtown Atlanta. I'm outside of Atlanta, and it's bad. And so now, like in the last month or so, we have a bus, public transportation bus that goes up and down my road, and there's a cross street down here that goes into like Stone Mountain. If you all know about Stone Mountain, it's one of the places that they want to blast some Confederate soldiers off of that mountain. And it's also mentioned in the I Have a Dream, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. But yeah, so that road goes to Stone Mountain and it goes to another part of Atlanta. Okay. And it comes up past my road all the way to another city or town where what's his face lives. What's that guy's name? Dude with the cigar. Ron White. Lawrenceville. Supposedly he lives in Lawrenceville. I don't know. Never seen him. Anyway, and they're upset because there's now buses coming through it, which means all the riffraff is going to come, which isn't really true. Come on now. Nobody's going to get on a bus to drive to this little town outside of Atlanta to come rob your house. And they're just not going to do it. Okay. But anyway, I keep saying they call it MARTA here. When I lived in Maryland, it was called Metro. They had Metro, came out of DC, and it did go into the counties. And they have the same feeling up there that people feel down here, like they don't want the MARTA line to come out. And I don't think where I live is a good place for a MARTA station, but there's a road, we call it 78, it's Stone Mountain Highway. And it connects to they call it the belt line. It's the road that goes around Atlanta, the highway that goes around Atlanta, and there's all the shopping is over there, and that would be a good place for a MARTA line, or maybe further up towards some of the other outer cities, because it would reduce traffic for one thing. It would reduce emissions for another thing. It would help bring commerce in and out of Atlanta and help get people working in Atlanta and just a lot of things. And my experience, okay, so when I worked in Baltimore, okay, it was expensive to park down there. And where I worked for BGE, which is Baltimore Gas and Electric, as a contractor. I worked there for I think like 9 months before I kind of quit, and was shortly after that is when I came here. So when I was working for BGE, even though they had a building, you still had to pay for parking. And it was limited, and then even the parking lots like around there was expensive to park in Baltimore. And if you didn't, you got a ticket and you might get towed. Okay, not good. So I would drive from my house to um, Hunt Valley, which is near Towson University. Okay, it's near Towson, and get on what they called the light rail. And the light rail was an electric train that basically went from where I got on in Hunt Valley, and it would drive down to BWI Airport, and it would drive back. It just went back and forth like that. It didn't do any other. There was no other routes on it. That's all it did. It's just straight one way and straight the other way. And that was just cheaper. First of all, it was cheaper, and I didn't have to deal with like driving in there and trying to find, so time wise, it wasn't so great. Time wise, it really wasn't great because, well, there was weather issues that we don't necessarily have here. So if it snowed or it got icy, sometimes they call it the light rail because it was like it was kind of like a trolley. There was an electric wire that this thing would touch, and that's how it got power. So if it got icy or something, it might not work. Or if the tracks were icy, that was a problem. So weather could be a problem. And then, there are breakdowns and things like that. So I left my house every day at 6:30 to get to work by 9, which is fine. Some days I was just running in the door. And then other days I would get down there maybe like 7:15. So I would go get breakfast and some coffee and hang out with whoever else showed up early, that kind of stuff. But time wise, yeah, it could be a time waster. But as far as the gas money I was spending on gas, I didn't have to spend money on gas. I definitely didn't spend money on parking. And that area too was kind of weird. I don't know if you guys remember the riots that happened after Freddie Gray. It was like a racial thing. Guy got arrested and died in the back of the van that they were taking him to jail. So from the time that they arrested him to the time they got him to jail, something happened and the dude died in the back of the van. And they were saying it was a racial thing, and there was a lot of rioting going on. That was in the area. Thankfully, I wasn't there anymore. I didn't work in that area, but I don't think I would have wanted to have to walk through that area with rioting going on. And sometimes there's some sketchy areas in Baltimore. So that where I would get off in the morning, where it was daylight, I would not go back that way because all the stores were closed and there were bums hanging out there, homeless people. I don't mean to be that way, but you don't know, okay? And it was dark, the street was dark. So I wouldn't go that way to get back on. I went the opposite direction past the convention center, which was usually busy, because there was somebody there, some kind of performance going on almost every night. And, it's dark at 5:00, right? So I would go that way. Oh, and also where the convention center, that was a busy stop there. And the Maryland School for the Blind was right across the street from there. So there was a lot of activity going on in that area, where the other was kind of not. And I just felt safer with more people around. So, but I don't know. That's city life. You're going to have an element that you have to be careful, and so you're very cautious when it comes to homeless people working downtown LA, where there's a lot of homeless walking the streets. Yeah. I talked to a girl a couple months ago. Her name's Michelle, and she has a podcast, My Chaotic Closet. She lives in LA too. And she was talking about the bins. Like sometimes she feels a little uncomfortable, because people are hanging around there, and you got to be careful, and definitely don't leave your car unlocked and that kind of stuff. But I know that LA, I think, isn't that where Skid Row is? Isn't Skid Row in LA? Like there's a huge problem in Los Angeles with homeless people, both being homeless and having to live with homeless. I mean, it's a dual sword, you know. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to be in that position and wonder where I'm going to, you know, sleep tonight. Um, but there's certain things that happen when there's a lot of, you know, I mean, you can feel sorry for these people, but there's a reason why some things happen sometimes. Sometimes it's just bad circumstances, and sometimes it's brought on by yourself. I'm just going to say it that way. It can go both ways. But anyway, um, it's like 9 o'clock for me, and I have to get up early tomorrow. So I'm going to sign off. I do appreciate you hanging out with me, Michael. And it looks like somebody else is here too. I don't know who that is that's been hanging out. They didn't really say anything, but I also appreciate you, whoever you are. And I will be back next week at 8 o'clock on Thursday. Okay. Let me know. You can comment somewhere. Yeah, we need to plan a phone call and a text. Okay. But yes, questions that you may have, let me know. I'll be back. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. I got fooled too. Maybe I'll tell you about that, or maybe I'll post a video. I don't know. I got a lot going on this next week too. So I will talk to y'all later. Thank you so much for coming by. Have a great night. I'm going to go home and go to bed, or go. My home is right over there, but I'm going to go to bed. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.